All right, Shadow of the Golden Dome, welcome back to another awesome interview. I know most of you watching this know that Notre Dame plays a little bit football from time to time, a little baseball, a little lacrosse. But do you know that there's a boxing program at Notre Dame? I know if you attended the school, you probably know, and some of you diehards do. But there is a boxing program at the University of Notre Dame. And today I'm fortunate enough to be joined by Knute Walker, the program director of Notre Dame Boxing and the head coach of both the men's program and the women's program. Knute, thank you for taking the time, my friend. How are you?
Doing well. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about our programs.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on, man. So I want to start here because this is kind of how I always open these. Talk to me about your relationship with the University of Notre Dame. I know you attended. What helped you make that decision to go to Notre Dame, and what does your relationship look like with the school outside of what we're going to get into? So, what helped you make that decision to attend Notre Dame?
Um, Growing up as a fan always with that, but I had a really unique opportunity to come up here as my family moved up into this area. My dad actually got a job for the University of Notre Dame. Um, and so I decided I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. And then, you kind of realize that maybe I didn't apply myself as well as I should have in school. In high school, I was more of the athletic track and just thinking that was going to take me to where I wanted to go. I was pretty decent baseball player and thought I would have opportunities for that. When I, figured that maybe not, then I ended up headed up to Holy Cross College actually. So I kind of pulled the Rudy aspect of things, and so I went to Holy Cross College for a couple of years, and then transferred over into to the university. And kind of funny story is, because I was a decent baseball player, I thought, hey, let me check out this baseball team, see if I can walk on, and this was back in the day where they're pretty decent, and I got a really rude wake up call being from Central Illinois, coming up and being a decent baseball player in that area, comparatively to a national brand like Notre Dame, and really got humbled very quickly for that. It was a good experience, but it was humbling for that. But yeah, so then I ended up attending the University of Notre Dame, and then um, I was. Got involved in a lot of different intramural programs. And one of the things I did some of the training for the boxing aspects for Bengal bouts. And then I graduated with a dual degree, history and computer applications, and thought I was going to go into a lawyer track, but decided that I was going to just kind of go and try to figure out something else to do. And so I actually went back to Holy Cross College and started there in the admissions office and started recruiting for them. Quickly realized that we needed something else to pull kids in other than just the Rudy story, even though that's what drew me there. And so I started working to build an athletic program. And actually, I started the athletic program there at Holy Cross College and was the first athletic director. Um, Built all their athletic facilities, or not all of them now. They've definitely updated them in the last 15 years that I've been gone. But that's definitely something I did. In about 2010, I was looking for something to do, maybe to go and get into Division I athletics, and there's an opportunity to come in and be an intern for the Bengal Bouts for boxing or for the boxing programs itself. And so I kind of took a big career leap, going from an athletic director to an intern. But really needed to reprioritize my home life, my family life, and stuff. So it was a pretty bold move, but ended up being a very, very good move. And so I started here as an intern in 2010, and then 2011 became a full-time participant here at the university in rec sports and worked with some of the other club sports programs, and then eventually into my role now where I am program director of boxing and head coach for both the men and women.
Very cool. Just real quick to touch on your time at Holy Cross as the AD there. How many hours a week were you putting in? I mean, if you're establishing the sports
So
program, what did that even look like? Were you ever home? Did you have a cot in your office, or what
no,
did that
yeah,
look like?
pretty much, pretty much. I mean, I can't even say it was under 60 hours, but I mean, being such a small college, for those of you who don't know, I mean, it was around 450, 500 students at the time. And we are doing all these things. So we started with like cross country and soccer and basketball and stuff once we built the facility. And but who is going to run the score tables? Who's going to paint the lines? I mean, I did everything. I painted lines. I was in a shirt, my suit and jacket out and painting lines when I had to do. You just did everything you could to make to start up this program, and make it what it was. So.
Very cool. So you take the leap of faith, you go from AD at Holy Cross, you go across the street, and now you're an intern at Notre Dame and eventually running the boxing program. Let's just dive right into that. Like we were talking about offline, I knew that there was a boxing program. But one thing I want to definitely shine a light on, and we'll get to this in a second, is the fact that there's a women's program also, which is fairly recent-ish. But let's just talk about the boxing program period. Bengal bouts have been around since the 20s, right? Knute Rockne was involved, if I understand correctly. Like, let's just start there. Talk to the listeners about the boxing program, what you've done since you've gotten involved, and what the Bengal bouts are, because they raise money for a great cause.
Yeah, both of our programs do, and ultimately they're glorified fundraisers. Really, so boxing started at Notre Dame in the 20s with Knute Rockne. He wanted to train for the football players. He wanted to train them on the off season, and there was no better way. And actually, the popularity of boxing was at its peak at that point, and so he would train them doing boxing with that. So he brought in a guy, an old Navy guy that did boxing in the Naval Academy, and his name was Dominic Napolitano, and he worked with the guys to do that. Then they decided to. That's about when the Holy Cross missions in Bangladesh started reaching out and doing missionary work over in Bangladesh area. And so through those Holy Cross missions, they came back and were like, we have a lot of needs and stuff. So Dominic Napolitano, what they call him Nappy decided to throw a fundraiser. And so it's a smoker, and which they used to go and smoke a pig and have the entertainment was to watch boxing. And so he got a couple of the guys together and students and everything, trained them up and ran this smoker, and they raised $500, and that was in 1931. And so that's where Bengal bouts started. I mean, boxing had started a little bit, and there was definitely roots down in boxing. But as far as the formal Bengal bouts where we started to raise money, started in 1931 with that. And we've been going strong. There's been bumps on the road a little bit here and there, but ultimately, like it is definitely progressed and has become one of the major things. I'd say a bucket list type of thing for a lot of the Notre Dame students to do with that. In 1997, there was a kind of a spitfire of a woman that was at the university and wanted to do boxing, and she just didn't take no for an answer. There was a lot of individuals that I were opposed to women boxing, but eventually they got through and got it through. And so she started the women's boxing club from that. And then in 2002 is when they adopted the Baraka bouts, which is Baraka is Swahili for blessings. And so they started the Baraka bouts, and they raise money for Holy Cross missions in East Africa. And actually, we have two schools that we have like now turned our focus onto, and they're Holy Cross schools in Uganda, and there's a St. Joseph Hill and Lakeview secondary schools, and we've been able to build buildings. We've done a lot of really, really extremely great work with that, and so we're celebrating. We're in the throes of the women's season right now, and it's the 23rd annual Baraka Bouts that's coming up, actually starting next week. So we're real excited to get that started.
Yeah, I was curious. So what does the season look like for boxing, right? I mean, you can box all year round, but what's the structure kind of look like? I was looking at the Baraka bouts, or I'm sorry, the Bengal bouts tournament that just ended in March, it looks like. So you've got the February to March quarterfinals to finals. What are your guys and gals doing when they're not prepping for that? I mean, are they coming in and training weekly or like when they're in school? What's that look like for you as a coach?
Yeah, so it's pretty intense. So we start with the women's program. Really, we start like first week of classes, and so that's when we're starting to do a lot of the training and different things. We have the world's actually largest women's boxing program. at Notre Dame here. And so we have over this year our numbers were a little bit down, but typically we have over 200 women that come and start out and compete and go out for boxing. A lot of them are there to mostly do the training and our exercises that we have, but then we have definitely a portion of them that will go on and do sparring, which is the practice, the boxing practice actually, and then eventually funnel into the tournament that we have with that. And so, but yeah, we offer because of the size of our program, we offer actually 8 practices a week. And so we have morning practices, we have Sunday practices for our women, and then Monday through Friday in the evening practices. And that's really where I focus my time and where we do a lot of the sparring aspect of those things come at that time. So it's definitely supervised in a way that we do that. And I could get more into that later, but yeah, so we offer a lot of opportunities for people to get that in because there's twofold of things in what you need with boxing, right? You need to have you need to be in shape, you need to have that cardio base, and then also you need the technique and the fundamentals to be able to go and protect yourself ultimately. And so that's where you really drill those things. In those practice sessions. And so we kind of break those up as a workout and then technique sessions and go from there. And as the women start like right away, the men start right around fall break. And then they usually are starting more with like the workouts and calisthenics and basic boxing instruction, but really they're not in doing any contact, any sparring or anything like that until after the women's season, which this women's season will end November 18th.
I'm curious, what percentage would you say of people or students come for the intense workouts? Because I imagine you can't get much of a better conditioning workout than coming to one of your practices. What percentage of students come for? I want my butt kicked, and then what percent? Like I'm here, I really legitimately want to learn to box. I want to do this. What would you say that is?
Yeah, so I would say like, so like I said, we have 200 or so women that are coming in. And I would say probably 2/3 of them or a third of them are there mainly just for the workout, and once the workout's done, all of a sudden we're like, hey, where'd they go? And they might have vanished. So we have about a third of them that'll do that. And then I'd say 2/3 of them there are really interested in learning a new sport and learning an opportunity to defend themselves, so learning opportunities to be a part of the team, be a part of this really unique environment and community that we have. And I think that's one of the really cool things that we've done over my tenure, at least here, is develop this really great community of men and women. But within this, because boxing is an individual sport, right? But we take this team concept around it, and I think because we have what the foundation of it, we have the mission behind what we do and raising the funds and making a fundraiser. I think that taking that kind of two-pronged approach has developed this really unique community of people that want to do something hard, and then want to do good for others. And so I typically say, when I'm doing my kind of intro speeches and everything, like when you're part of this club, when you're a part of what of this team of what we're doing, it's the most Notre Dame thing you can possibly do, right? Because you have the athletic component, you have the competition, you have that, but you also have the philanthropic aspect of it, where you're serving others, where you're doing something hard to serve others, a half a world away. But the impact that we have had has been substantial, and it's no, we have Father Tom Eckert is our boxing chaplain, and he's the head of Holy Cross Mission Center. And so it's not hyperbole when he talks about things about we are actually, the money that we're raising is actually saving lives over there. So, and both Bangladesh and in Uganda, we've done things that impactful with it. And so you kind of hear those stories, you hear those opportunities that we're doing, and I think that that's what kind of brings it into being like one of the most Notre Dame things you can do, right?
Yeah, I'm looking right here. Your 94th season was last year, and the boxing club raised $320,000 for Holy Cross missions in Bangladesh. Again, that was your 94th season, so you're in the middle of, or
95th.
just
It was actually 95th last
it
year.
was 95 last year. Okay, so you're in the
95,
middle of
yeah.
96 now. So Do
Right.
you have, so was that the numbers for last year? So do you have numbers for this year yet, or have those been compiled?
Yeah, no, well, and I like to put it this way, over the past like 4 years. So you took a boxer that started as freshman year and graduated last year. They were able to raise $1.25 million, right? I
Wow.
mean, I think that's substantial. Like that's something that you can rally around and with that. And in that same kind of thing, our women's program. We actually have a unique opportunity with our women's program that we have the Woolahan Family Foundation. It's a foundation that actually matches us, excuse me, dollar for dollar. And so they've actually been able to raise over $750,000 over the past kind of that same 4 year tenure. So it's
Very
been
cool.
it's been really impactful of what we do, and with that money that we have done, they've completed dormitories. That's what we're working on right now for the completion of a dormitory for women. Over in Uganda they typically will have like 8 or 6 people in a one room dorm room, which like at Notre Dame's campus, that'd be a single. Well, one person's in there. Well, they would have like 6 to 8 people in that same room, and so building onto that is just going to enhance their education, enhance that up, and ultimately try to break that cycle of poverty that is over there.
Where do you guys practice on campus? Where's the ring at?
Yeah, I'm actually here in it right now. It's called the Pit, so it's kind of it's nice, kind of like earthy feel to that, a good boxing quality things, but it's called the Pit. So it's actually where the men and women's basketball programs used to practice before they took over they have their basketball facility now. But so we have a gym with the size of our program. We have to have so we have a gym, the basketball floor, which is kind of like behind me. But then we have our boxing room here, down here, where we have the heavy bags, where we have a ring that is, that is always up here. And then during the men's season, just because we have more men that actually compete and spar than we do the women, we bring in a second ring that we have, and so we'll build a second ring in the room that I'm at right here. And so, but yeah, it's a great little gem on campus to come down for those who know, type thing. But it's in the Pit in the Joy Center. Yeah.
Nate Walker, program director, Notre Dame boxing, head coach of the women and men's programs, coming to us from the Pit somewhere on campus, Notre Dame. That jacket behind you with the boxing glove looks awesome, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Very, very cool.
We
Do
get
you,
those out. So what that is if you make it to the finals of the Bengal Bouts, and that's you get a jacket for that. So that's one of the things that is always coveted is to get to the jacket round, which is the finals. So
you have any funny stories about an athlete that might have played another sport that want to get involved before the coach said absolutely not? You ever have anybody like that want to
well,
get involved?
Well, I tell you what, we actually we have a lot of crossover athletes actually that are involved in that come out for the men and for the women's program for that matter. We had a couple fencers last year that came over that kind of like crossed over, which it's interesting to kind of like see what sport that they're D1 level athlete at and how that translates, how they can utilize that as in boxing. So it's we used to have a huge culture, especially the Bengal bouts, of football players coming in. One of the most like famous stories is Ken McAfee, Heisman Trophy, All-American, came over, and I think it was in '78, so a little bit before my time here. But it was this like they would pack the house, and they would basically have these exhibition bouts of these football players. And I don't know if I would call it really good boxing, but they would go and they would have at it. But I mean, that used to be a huge draw. And then we had up until really, I mean, really, the transfer portal killed our opportunity of having. We had football players still participate in this. A lot of walk-ons. We had people. The plants is they went through. So they kind of came in and did both have champion jackets, have those jackets and all that stuff. But really, with the transfer portal opened up, then it's like, well, I could go after my 4 years at Notre Dame, and if I'm a decent football player, you can go and get your graduate school paid for or something. And so I think that has really hurt our kind of crossover having football players at least. But we've definitely had a few over. We had a basketball player whose knee just wasn't working out, and so we had him come in. And this is a while ago, actually. One of my, kind of the beginning of my tenure, I believe it was 2014, but his name was Mike Brohammer. And so, which is good, like Brohammer, he was huge, 6'6", 260. He was a huge guy. So he came through and came in. He worked really hard. He was actually a really good boxer, punched really hard with all that weight and all that muscle behind him and things. But anyway, so he went up against a 6'1", 210 guy. He was from California and played tennis, and he was kind of unassuming, and that was one of the first times that we were with ESPN for Bengal Bout Finals, and his name was Dan Yee, and Dan Yee slipped his one of these long punches and got him in about a minute. And so we were trying to get that on Sports Center really good because it was just such a discrepancy in size and stuff. But we've had other people come out and soccer's guy that again kind of like an injury, couldn't play soccer anymore, so he came out and stuff. So that's kind of sometimes how it happens. But also we have people that have we've had swimmers that have come over, if they're done with their swimming careers or they want something different, maybe they came here on a scholarship, but then their life took them in a different direction. And so we definitely have a lot of those individuals coming out. I mean, the great thing about Notre Dame is that a lot of people are coming in are coming from have an athletic background of some type. I mean, the majority of students, I would say, do, or at least they did, so
How many colleges have a boxing program? Is it fairly normal?
yeah, normal is probably not
No.
would I say
Yeah.
there is over 100, about 120 colleges. There's two associations. There's the NCBA, National Collegiate Boxing Association, and then UCIBA, which is the National Intercollegiate Boxing Association. And they used to be one, but then they broke off because of its boxing, and that's what they do. But so there's like kind of two divisions, and then they each have like NCBA has, I think, about 80 schools, and then I think UCIBA has about 40 schools in it. But the service academies, they always represent. I mean, Navy has had always has a really great squad coming out of Navy, and that's one of the other programs that probably the most similar to what we do because they have kind of an intramural boxing program, the brigade bouts. And so they have probably this most similar thing to what we do. No one else really does what we do. The other ones are kind of small teams, maybe comprised of, 14 men and women, and that would be the whole team. And then they would travel just most like, kind of like our rugby team does, our club rugby team. They travel kind of from site to site, and play those games. And we're really strictly an intramural just because of the size of people. We don't have to go anywhere else. And then also I would say this, and this is one distinction that I always like to make about boxing at Notre Dame, because a lot of people are like, well, why would you go and pay all this money for an education and then go into boxing, right? And what we do as boxing is it's definitely amateur boxing. So there's a huge discrepancy about what amateur boxing is and what we do even. So there's professional boxing, which is almost a different sport. It's like men and women's lacrosse, right? That's almost a different sport because of what they're trying to do. But even in amateur boxing, golden gloves and different things like that, they are going for usually they're going for to end the bout as quickly as possible and damage the other person, right? That it's all about damage inflicted on the other person. And we, based on what our scoring system does and based on how we coach and how we approach things, we kind of are more on the performative end of it, right? So we talk about how many touches you hit, like how many punches you land. It's not about the damage of the punch it does, it's how many of them you land. And just that kind of like shift in those things will change it from a someone winding up and trying to get a knockout to someone really trying to hit that lightning jab and really just score and make touches for that, right? And so we are very controlled in what we do. There's no one that has the protocols, not any other collegiates, not any other amateur boxing program in the world that has the protocols that we do to keep our students as safe as you can be in boxing, right? And so obviously you never can be completely safe, but what we do and the standards that we take and the way we approach it is just different. Now, that doesn't mean the end product, when you go out and you watch it, you wouldn't necessarily see that. You'd see some really great boxing because you still get hit in the face. I mean, it's not like it's not going to hurt if you get hit in the face, but it's one of those things that I think that though I really try to stress out and try to make that distinction about boxing at Notre Dame is really different than boxing anywhere else in the world, right? And I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of that because I think we still put out a really quality events, so with the Baraka bouts and the Bengal bouts, and Brock bouts are starting next week on November 5th at 7 p.m., right? And we actually are in the Danke Ballroom. So we overlook the football stadium or in the football stadium overlooking the field. And we bring a ring up there and it's centered and it's such a cool environment. It is so cool. And that's kind of going back to one of the most Notre Dame things you can do. I think it's one of the coolest things that you have is to be able to walk out. All your friends and family are there cheering. You have the robe over you and you get in the ring, you get announced. I mean, how cool is that to be a student and be able to participate in that? I mean, I think it's unbelievable. So.
Yeah, that's cool. So you guys are utilizing one of those new buildings on one of the sides of the stadium. That's
Yes, yeah. It's on the east side, or I'm sorry, on the west side. It's the Danke Ballroom, right?
Danky
Also up
Ballroom.
on the seventh floor. And I mean, to tell you to what we have to do to get a ring up there, we actually have to carry the ring. It's disassembled piece by piece up 4 flights of stairs to be able to get it in there, just so that we can have this event in that room because it's so cool. It's
Hmm.
such a cool experience. And we live stream it too. So I would recommend people coming, go out to brockabouts.nd.edu, and you can live stream it from there. It doesn't cost anything. I mean, you're welcome to donate, but that's definitely something I would love for people to be able to see and come out and see the product that we're trying to put out there. So.
Very cool. What's your staff look like? How many folks do you have working for you over there? Because I mean, you can't be just you. What's that look like? How many people
Yeah,
are roaming
yeah. Well,
around during
I'm
a
actually
practice?
blessed. I'm blessed this year. We actually have 12 other coaches that are helping me out. And I have not had that in the past. This has been like me and a couple guys like that have been doing this. But this year, just kind of things lined together. A lot of people are, former boxers are now working back on campus, and so they want to be involved because of the impact that boxing had made in their lives. And uh, so that's been pretty cool this year to be able to do that and actually lean on some other people, to help out with some technique or to do other things, to really get those touch points with it. Like I said, with the size of our program, we kind of like instruct to the masses. And so it's nice to be able to go and try to give some individual attention to people. And we're able to do that with the amount of coaches that we have with that. But I also would say that kind of the structure how we set up, we have captains. So we have like around 10 captains for the men and for the women. And those captains are juniors and seniors, typically, and those that have been in the club and that are that we kind of seek out, we see some leadership potential in them and kind of cultivate them, to build up their leadership skills and have them help instruct too. So they're kind of pseudo coaches as well. So definitely takes a lot of people to help out with that. And then the administrative aspects of it, do I have about 9 student workers, our boxing managers that also help me out and they help me keep organized and stuff. So, which is always needed.
Very cool. So I'm wondering, you guys are raising a lot of money for awesome causes overseas. What are some of the mechanisms you're using? I mean, aside from admission fees and things like that for your bouts, what are some of the biggest ways that you're raising this kind of money? Because it's fantastic the kind of fundraising you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. It is, and I mean, I kind of do stress on this aspect a lot about the fundraising aspect. I think that the mission that we have behind what we do really adds to the community and the culture that we have here on campus, and the people that like are ready to grind that extra push up, that extra burpee, or whatever it is, because they know that they're working for something bigger. But yeah, so we have a crowdfunding platform, and it's Campus Give, and that's all. Everything can be found off of barackabouts.nd.edu, or bengalbouts.nd.edu. Too, we'll have that. We'll have the men's page up soon, but not. We don't have it up yet, but so yeah, you could do that. We sell merchandise. We have like a team store where you can buy apparel. We have some of the best gear that's around. We sell tickets obviously to our events, and that's a big draw to sell. And then we do some other little fundraisers, like the women. We do a power hour, which we pick a Friday before a game day, and we'll work out by the bookstore, and do a push up for every dollar that is raised, and we sell gear there too and stuff. And so that's usually a pretty good worthwhile fundraiser that we have, and we'll raise $5,000 to $7,000 doing that. And so we try to do little things here and there just to help out. But I would say the majority of it comes from just kind of like straight online donations, and then the purchasing of the tickets and being at the event.
And you talked about the merch. Where can you buy that? What's the address for that? And I'll post it after the fact also. But is it part of the Notre Dame store site, or is it something separate?
It's actually something separate, right? Yeah. So we do this because it actually we get a kickback from it. If we went through the bookstore, they get the kickback, and so we've
Okay.
kind of not done that. So we do have a team store that is available, and again, I mean, I think all this information is on our website, and so that's
Okay.
the best because the link changed because we open and close the stores to because you have to close the store to get the merchandise out. You also can always contact us, wboxing or boxing@nd.edu, either of those things. And our managers, we have a kind of a catalog for in-house stuff too that we can send out too. So there's lots of ways to do that, or come visit us before a game day on a Friday. Unfortunately, typically game days were closed, but and the pits locked down. But the Fridays before, come on out, if you're here and pick up some good merch. Yeah.
For you, I can see the passion in when you talk about the program and what you're doing for people and the difference you're making. As the program manager, as the head coach of both programs, where do you see this thing going? What's the next thing? How do we get it bigger and better? What's in the future for Notre Dame boxing?
Well, I mean, we're hitting the 96th year of the men, and so I mean, we're staring down 100. I mean, and that's it. And one of the cool things is that we're 100 years of Bengal bouts is coinciding with 100 years of the Notre Dame Stadium, and so I'm already trying to put roots and plants and be like if we could have the Bengal bouts in the stadium, I think that would be so cool. I don't know, we'll see that, but really, I mean, this is actually I'm going into my 16th year here, and people are like, "Wow, that's a long time." And I was like, "Well, it is, but it changes every year. Every year we get new leadership, and it's every year is a little bit different. What stays the same though is the mission that's behind it. And I think what we can do, I think we can enhance those things as well as our relationships with the where our money goes, right, over in Bangladesh and over in East Africa, and how that does. I think those are things that we can enhance. I think we've done a really great job of kind of finding a formula to develop a boxer. Um, it's kind of unheard of. Like, you can start boxing and then be in a ring in like 2 months. And that's and like if you went to an amateur gym somewhere, they were like, no, it's usually like a year. You have to build up this thing. And so it's kind of crazy, but I think we developed this formula to really create that. Now, that does say that we can enhance it, and we're always looking at new ways. I'm a certified personal trainer, so I'm always looking at new ways to be able to um, um, engage the human body in a different way and eventually get out what we were trying to get out of that individual. And so there's definitely little ways and little tweaks that we can behind. But I think one of the traditions, tradition's a big thing at Notre Dame, and I think that I believe in that aspect of like having this tradition where we're enhancing it, but really staying true to our fundamentals and true to our core of what we're trying to do, I think is important as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm wondering what kind of, at almost 20 years at the University of Notre Dame, what kind of oversight do you have at this point? Do they let you just do your thing? Like when you get the new AD in there a couple of years ago, do they check in and say what's going on here? Or are you, I mean, you're
Yeah.
running a pretty tight ship at this point, I imagine, yeah?
Yeah, but as you can imagine, there's a lot of eyes on us,
Yeah.
always. But I think I've built the trust of a lot of people and, built the trust of the university and people just say that like, hey, listen, I have the students' best interest involved here. It's not about it's not about developing professional boxers here, right? That's not it. It's the old NCAA slogan, right? Or like, you know, only 2% are going professional or whatever. Like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's that similar thing where we're developing. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to develop, utilizing boxing as kind of a vehicle to develop the student as a whole. And I mean, really, I think that it's such a rewarding and an awesome thing to see someone that is, especially like in the women's program, right? You have someone that's coming in that's their first year and they're timid and they're not really talking and they're worried about doing something. They'll hit someone in their first bar and say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and they're like, "No, that's what you're trying to do." And then by the time, even at the end of that year, or even in subsequent years, and by the time they graduate, they're walking around with a swagger. They just have this confidence in everything, and that it was the boxing in our program that instilled that in them to have this opportunity to be go. And that doesn't mean that they won everything that they did, but they're coming in with now a sense of purpose and empowerment. And I think that's awesome. And I think that's really what drives me to keep coming back and having excitement for it. And like every day is kind of new and exciting about that. So
Does
I
it
think
ever
I went
feel
off on
like,
a tangent without answering your question. I'm not sure, but
no, you're fine. Does it ever feel like work?
Uh, yes, when the oversight people are talking to me, yes, that is work. That is work. But I tell you what, the the good far outweighs the bad, right? So you have this 15% of like grinding. I got to write reports. I actually just finished up having to do this thing for taxes for the university, and it's just like these forms that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's grind. You still have that, right? But I would say, when I'm interacting, when I get to be at practice with the students, when I get to, field a phone call from one of them, or write a reference letter for them, or help them out through a situation, or whatever. I mean, like that's why I'm here. That's what I live for. That's really rewarding, and why I've been here for so long.
He is Nate Walker. He's the program director of Notre Dame Boxing. They do a lot of really, really good stuff for people overseas. They're raising money for folks in Bangladesh, Uganda, trying to lift people out of economic poverty. They're doing a lot of good things and they're developing young men and women as they do it. Nate, I appreciate you being here. I'm going to run you through a lightning round and I'm going to let you get back to work, okay?
All right, sounds good.
All right, here we go. Thanks again for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
What is your favorite spot on campus?
Um,
And you can't say where you are right now.
yeah, I was gonna say, I like it here a lot. But I actually, so this is, I know it's supposed to be a lightning round. Okay. But
It never ends up being a lightning round. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I I like the lakes. I like those other things, but I do this once a year to keep myself grounded and realize the opportunity that I have to work at the University of Notre Dame, and to be this. I take a walk and I try to walk all through campus, like zigzag through there, looking at the trees, looking at the dome, looking at the basilica, um, and just sitting there and just absorbing all of those things, right? Because this is a magical place. And sometimes the gold, the dome doesn't shine as bright when you're dealing with stuff. But then if you sit back and take a moment and just and realize where you are, what you get to do, and it's a pretty special thing.
What's your highest recommendation for lunch and dinner in South Bend? What's your go-to spots?
Ooh, lunch and dinner. I really like Rocky River. Rocky River is really great farm to table type thing. I think that's a really good dinner. I would be remiss if I didn't say Jay's Lounge too. Like,
Yeah.
so I might have seen somebody there recently, but
Yeah.
yeah. But I actually really they've actually catered for us for a couple banquets and everything, just because their food there is really good. For if you're looking
Mhm.
for good bar food, man, it's a really great place to go to. So.
Give me your top two or three moments as a coach, Notre Dame boxing. I know it's endless, it's countless, but a couple highlights from your 16 years there at the college.
I did kind of mention this, earlier in the podcast, but the Mike Brohammer, and you can find this on YouTube. The Mike Brohammer Dan Yee bout, that was one of like my earliest highlights of it, just because that was just such a David Goliath type of moment and everything. And Dan Yee ended up becoming a 4-year champion, actually our last 4-year champion that we've had here. So that was pretty cool. I think that when we have the first couple times that we actually got to use the new Danky ballroom and having it in there, I think that was really great. And I would say also, this is kind of like a thing, but just being at practice, and like on a daily basis. I know it's like signature, but even that kind of like the daily touch points of being there with the students and seeing those, like I was kind of saying, that the switch turn on them, where you finally did something or said something to pull out and make it can make sense for them, and the light bulb goes on. Those are great. Those are great.
So I don't get to ask this with everybody because not everybody's local to South Bend, but I'm gonna get you in on this debate. Best pizza in South Bend.
Iggy's.
Where is Iggy's?
Oh, Iggy's is out in Granger. I think they're going to open a new location, but it's out in Granger by the Railroad Martins, out there, off of 23. But it's basically you have to call ahead. They have set dough, and they only make a certain amount of dough. They have a limited menu of like, here's the pizzas that we're doing. But oh man, it's so good. It's so good with that. If you want to go a little bit more chain, I like what JC's has done. They took over Tony Sacco's, and so that's a good thin crust pizza too.
Give me a word or phrase to describe your relationship with the University of Notre Dame.
Home. I mean, this is my home. This is where my kids have been down here in the boxing room. This is they've all kind of grown up here. So I this is just a part of my life. One of the things someone told me at one time that this occupation and being a coach and everything is not a job. It's a lifestyle, and that's really what it is. And this is just part of my life. Notre Dame is part of my life. It is intertwined in so many different ways, with it, from me being educated here to being to being able to, and the privilege, and to be humbled to work with the boxing programs here. I think it's great. But yeah, home would be the where I'd say.
He's Nate Walker. He's the program director of Notre Dame Boxing, head coach of both the men's and the women's programs. Go to banglebouts.nd.edu. Go to barakabouts.nd.edu. Check it out. Check out the programs. There's a donate here button. They're doing a lot of amazing things. I will get a merch. A lot of people in my group like merch. I'm going to get a link to that. We're going to support the boxing program at Notre Dame, and we'll get the word out. Nate, you are the man. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.